So we've been at this for a little while, and hopefully, at this point in time, right, you looked through last week's material, you looked through Esslin, you looked a little bit at what Beckett, the biography, a little bit of what he's done, right, in the Esslin PDF, and have, I'm hoping, right, at least looked a little bit at Waiting for Godot. And so that brings us really to our first of the absurdist plays that we're going to be looking at, and quite possibly one. It's hard to choose a favorite, right? I've written about all of these. I love all of these. I know that sounds weird, right? Especially if you watch Waiting for Godot and you're like, "What the hell is this? I don't understand what's going on." Right? It's a common response, right, to the theater of the absurd, because it's not theater the way that we expect it to be, right? This is odd stuff, right? And I don't certainly blame anybody if they're looking at this and saying, "Did I make a huge mistake doing this?" Right? Like, this is weird, and I thought we were going to be, watching some things that were funny and enjoyable, and you know, I think that there is humor. It's coming up, right? We're going to be able to see it. When we get to Ionesco, we're going to be able to see some of it when we get to Genet. But right, the absurd. I was having a conversation over the weekend with somebody who, again, was sort of, asking, what exactly I do with this and what this class is all about. And I said, now that we're in October, we're thinking about, right, Halloween, we're thinking about, horror films. I said, I think that horror films and the theater of the absurd and the ridiculousness of like the Animaniacs and Robot Chicken, they're all on the same sort of continuum, right? These plays are all about things that are happening that are unexpected. They're about the things you don't think are going to happen. Again, answers that you're not getting from the universe, from God, from whatever happens to be in these plays. And so for me, right, Endgame, one of the finest of the pieces of the theory of the absurd, because it I believe gives us an accessible way in, right? Just like Waiting for Godot, it doesn't overwhelm us with characters. It doesn't overwhelm us with dialogue. It gives us pretty straightforward, if somewhat mysterious, right, lines that are fairly easy to at least understand individually, right? And when you watch the play as a whole, you get a sense, right, of, again, right, despair. We've been talking about despair since the beginning of the semester, right? The Kierkegaard says despair drives us into the arms of God if we eventually allow it to. Sartre says that despair drives us to responsibility, right? That our only way out is being responsible and being, being aware that we are the only ones who can answer for our own actions. Camus saying that despair is possibly something that would drive us to suicide, but that we can't let it happen because we have to take on our own meaning, right? We have to make meaning out of this life that we've got, right? And so, looking at Endgame, I'm excited to present it to you. I'm excited for you to look at it. I'm excited for you to watch it. I think it's a good play, and I think it's a good piece of theater to begin with, right? So, what are we seeing, right? If you haven't watched it yet, please go and do that first. Again, I am also going to, sort of expect that you have looked at the play that you got from the bookstore that you rented, right? Can you find it online for free? Probably. Be careful, right, doing that, but you can probably find it, right, if you really look for it. But if you haven't done that, go do that first, right? Come back. We'll still be here. Right, so, all right, so you've gone and looked at it. Okay, good. So what did we see, right? We see two characters, right? And if you recognize them, then you may have been a fan of, some of the early Harry Potter films, right? Michael Gambon takes over, as as Dumbledore from Richard Harris, and David Thewlis is in there as well. He plays, I can't remember which character, but he plays one of the characters, right? Names escape me, but here they are, right, reunited on a stage. And we see one of them is unable to walk. One of them is unable to, stand or walk, right? One of them was unable to sit down, and they basically dialogue, right? Ham's parents are apparently in trash cans, and, everybody's also talking about leaving, and nobody ever leaves. And maybe the parents die at the end, maybe they don't, who knows? So what do we make of it all? Well, I will tell you when we come back, right, in the next video. But what I will say that I believe we take away from this right away is that we are looking at a dialogue between people who are trying to figure out what it means to exist, what it means to be alive, whether it's worth being alive. And I think we're also looking at some personifications of who we are as people, right? There is the person who likes to talk and direct and be right about everything inside of all of us. There is the person who sort of hesitates to figure out what's going on, right? Doesn't want to make decisions without, right, the assistance from other people, right? We have, right, the people in us that are smarter and wiser, but who are looking back and saying, right, like, we could have done something and now it's too late for us, right? All of these people, I think, exist within us, right, at certain points, and I think that is the very first thing I'll take away. Come back, we'll sort of analyze this a little bit more in our second video, right?